All right, so with the tic-tac-toe board, we're going to start on the front sketch, and we're going to create a rectangle. And you can just kind of make it any kind of way that you want for the moment. And it's going to be 6 inches long and 0.75 tall. So we use the dimension tool for that. So we'll change that to 6. We'll change this to 0.75. And then we're going to finish the sketch by hitting the check mark. I'm going to put it in an isometric. And then I'm going to use extrude. And we're going to set that up to 6 inches. So the depth of the object is going to be 6. So it's 6, 6, and 3/4 and 0.75. All right, so next we're going to put a sketch on the top surface because we're going to do the inlays. We'll flip it around to the top view. And then we're going to use a rectangle. And we're going to start from one corner to the next. And we're going to do the horizontals first. And we're going to use the dimension tool to place the space in between one edge and the outside edge of that rectangle and the edge of the board. And then we're going to set the width of the inlay, which is going to be 0.25. So we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Use a rectangle. So here I kind of messed up a little bit. I picked the wrong side of the line. Well, at least it went to the wrong side. So it should be 1.88. But it jumped to the wrong side of the line for some reason. So here I deleted the dimension and I just placed a new one there. And made it also 1.88. What the problem is that it's going to sit on top of the other one. And it's going to be sitting too close. So I'm going to undo that. And then I'm going to place a 0.25 measurement on those two vertical lines first. And then I'm going to adjust the number to 1.88. All right, so I'm going to finish sketch. Put an isometric. And then this time I also use extrude once more. I'm going to select the two rectangles I just made, but instead of adding 2, I'm going to put it on remove, and I'm going to adjust the height, which is going to be 0.25. Oh, I'm sorry, 0.125. I'm not mistaken. Right, I'll hit the check mark, and that's going to create my first inlay. All right, so I'm going to repeat the same exact steps, but this time I'm going to do it from the side. So I'm going to put it on the right side view, and that's where I'll place my sketch. And I'm going to use 2 smaller rectangles this time. So they're going to be 0.25 wide, uh, 0.125 tall, and from the edge to the edge of the rectangle, that distance is going to be 1.88, just like we did before. And then that's going to center. It's going to push the rectangle over. So I'm going to do the same thing from the opposite side. Zoom in so I can see it a little bit better. And repeat the same steps. So this is going to be 0.25. Height is going to be 0.125. And from the edge to the edge of the rectangle, it's going to be 1.88. Okay, so now on this one, we'll finish the sketch. We'll put it back in isometric or inside of our angle view. And this time, we're going to actually still use extrude, but we're going to change the extrude to remove like we did before, but we're going to pull these through. So I'm going to select them, put it on remove, and I'm just going to pull them all the way through to the other side. And I'm going to pull it further than what I need just to cut channel or groove out. All right, so we're spinning around and take a look at it. It looks pretty good. All right, so next we are going to do the cutout at the bottom. It is roughly about 4.5 inches long, but instead of doing the length of it, we're just going to do the measurement from the edge to the cutout, which is going to be 0.75. So we're going to do both of those cutouts, and I do believe the height is 0.125. No, 0.25. All right, so we'll do the same thing. We'll put it in an isometric view. We'll extrude. We'll select the object, and we'll put it on remove. And again, we're just going to pull it through because there's nothing on the outside of the board that is going to impede it. All right, so last but not least are the holes that go in the middle. So you have to, there's two different methods you can do it. You can draw a line across the middle after you put a sketch there and put it directly in the middle of the line. Or you can also use the tools that's on here. So we're going to use a circle. I'm kind of bouncing around right now. I guess I'm thinking what I'm going to do. All right, so this part I want you to skip because I really was trying to do, after I put the circle here, it didn't really give me a midpoint. But this is how you're going to get your midpoint or where they're going to go. So you don't have to click on those points. You just got to touch them. Then you make the circle. All right, I'm going to dimension it, and it's going to be 0.31. So if you want to change, go from 0.3125 and then just do it as 0.31, that's fine. All right, so we're going to extrude, remove with a depth of 0.25. Okay, so on this portion of it, this is where I tried to use the use the pattern tool, but it wasn't really working the way I thought that it would. So I'm just kind of searching for it, but it is the actual little square in the middle with 3 shaded in squares. Not sure why I chose mirror. So this part you can kind of skip over. So instead of doing that, what I'm doing now, if you do the hole the same way I did on the first one, then You'll do that for all 9 squares. So I'm going to kind of fast forward this a little bit so you can kind of see where I went with that instead of me spending so much time trying to do that. All right, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit right there. All right, so skip over trying to do the pattern, and we're just going to just do the holes individually. So you can do a whole row of them at one time, and I suggest doing it that way. That way you don't really just take so much time trying to doing them one by one. So you have to kind of watch this for the symbols, because if you watch the cursor, the symbol will change over to the side, and it's easier probably to do this from the top than it is to do it from isometric view. So you'll do all 9 of these holes the same way. So you can do a row at a time if you like. So we're just going to finish that sketch on this one. And we're going to extrude both of those to remove. And a depth of, I think, 0.25. All right, so I'm going to fast forward this a little bit. So I'm going to do that with each one of the rows. And I'm going to set my heights, my cut values to 0.25. Set the holes, of course, to 0.31. So I'm going to be basically doing the same exact thing to each one of them. Extruding as usual, and cutting. All right, so finally, in order to turn it in, you'll just create a new drawing, and we're going to choose an Arc C sheet. All right, and we're going to bring one of our views on, and we're going to use the automatic projection that it's providing us with. So we're going to project the views in order to create the other 2 views that we need. Actually, the other 3 views. And we're going to do it, project off of the front view to get an isometric. And so here it gets a little tricky in order to get the shaded view in. So you actually have to click on Show Hide. And I'll fast forward to get to that. Right there. So we'll do Show Hide Shaded, and it'll generate and it'll show the shaded view. All right, so last but not least is the title block information. And we're just going to take one of these presets, move them up to the top. We'll delete that one. We'll double click, backspace. You'll put the school name in. And the title of the drawing. All right, so everything else is set. So your name is already in on the drawing, and so is everything else that you need. So we're just going to go to print. All right, so if you go to print and it doesn't pop up in the browser, up at the very top, there's a little, it's going to be like a little square up there where you have to click on and tell it to allow pop-ups to pop up on this website. And if you click on it to tell it always, then it will it won't do that again after you do it the first time.